Good morning, beauties. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Stephanie, Supercar Mom, and today, after a whole bunch of procrastination,
Man, I've been kind of sitting here for a long time.
I think it's time that we officially store the Lambo. So she's been sitting here for about a month. We've driven her a few times, but for all intents and purposes, she's kind of just been sitting here without proper storage.
What the hell?
And so I'm gonna go through what I do. I've been storing cars since my Civic. And I will show you guys what I do, what I found is the best practice to store my cars for the winter. Okay, so just a quick cliff notes, a rundown of exactly what we're gonna do. First, we gotta get her to the car wash. It is unfortunately kind of crummy outside today, so we're gonna bring her to the car wash. I always bring it back and do a quick detail on it anyway, so we're gonna go through that. We're gonna top up the fuel. We're gonna top up the air pressure in the tire, super important. I'll explain why later. Make sure that the interior is clean. Plug it into a trickle charger. That's huge because we want to be able to just start her up in the spring when it's time for her to come back out, and put the car cover on. So sad. Okay, so it's cold outside. It is literally the end of December, and this is probably the latest I've ever stored a car. Again, procrastinating, trying to drive her as much as possible. But let's get this thing started. Okay guys, so we are off to the gas station first. It is actually raining a lot more than I thought it was. So we're gonna hit the gas station, we're gonna hit the car wash, even though it's raining, but I still wanna get some of the gunk off of this thing. And then we're gonna come back and do a proper dry and proper detail. And then we're gonna get ready for official storage. Sad. So I'm filling it up on gas. If you notice how much fuel there is, it's already pretty full. I like to make sure it's at 100% because some people like to use fuel stabilizer and other people go off of just making sure it's full. I don't really like adding additives to this car just because it is tuned.
Oh shit, not good.
So I'd rather not have a tank of gas where there's not pure 94 octane in here. And that way there's as little air in the tank as possible so that it doesn't degrade the fuel while it's stored for the next couple of months. So I'm gonna fill it up and I'll be right back. Every single time I stop for fuel in the rain, this machine gives me trouble. It doesn't fail. Never ever fails. Can you just reset this, lady? So this car is tuned. It has an AK-47 tune on it. So that means that it has been tuned specifically for Ultra 94. So it's really the only fuel that I should be putting in this car. Occasionally, if there's no 94 around, I'll go with 93, but I try not to fill it up. But storing it for the winter, I want to make sure that the fuel that's supposed to be in this car, that the tune is asking for, is actually in the vehicle. So we're going to make sure it's filled to the top with 94. So a quarter tank of fuel in the Lambo is apparently 60 bucks. Who knew? All right, let's get out of here. This is kind of sad, guys. Whoa, my dash cam is losing it. This is so sad, guys. Every time that it's time for me to officially store the car and not drive it for an extended period of time, I get super bummed. This year is going to be a touch different because it's going to be staying at the studio, so I'm going to see it frequently. However, I know that I'm not going to be driving it, so it's kind of officially the end of the season and it sucks. But it will be kind of coming out of hibernation for a few weeks when we actually do the rewrap on the car and get it all fresh for the spring. So kind of excited about that, but I'm still not going to be driving it during that period, so tear. Can't wait for the springtime. So let's see here, where the hell are we headed now? We're going to that car wash, the coin op. Okay, so now we're going to head to the car wash. Again, even though it's raining, I want to make sure that all the gunk is off of this car. The car wash is actually pretty close to the studio, so it'll be just a quick drive back. Then we'll dry it. We'll do a proper quick detail on it to make sure that there's absolutely no dirt on it. And then we'll get going on the actual indoor storage bits. This is actually the fourth time I've officially put this car away for the winter. I've had this thing since 2019 July. This was one of those cars that I've really always wanted. I had a couple Porsches before this and an R8 before that and a few BMWs before it. My first car was a Civic. I've stored all of them, but this was kind of the ultimate. This is one of my bucket list cars. I was looking for one of these for quite some time. I specifically wanted rear wheel drives. and one of them popped up at our local dealer. While I was there negotiating on this vehicle, there were 3 other people that came in for this vehicle. So this had just gone live, and so it had only been on the market for a day, and because they are so hard to find, a rear-wheel drive is so hard to find, people wanted it. So this thing had about 1,100 kilometers on it. It was only about a month and a half old. The original owner had bought it. It had barely even hit break-in period. It was, for all intensive purposes, brand spanking new. It had full paint protection film on it. It was just, the car was perfect when we bought it, except it had a little scratch on one of the rims. So I guess one of the first things that the previous owner did was curb the wheel. Anyway, those ones came off right away, so it doesn't really matter. Those rims were super ugly. Insert ugly picture here. And then I started on my journey of modding the heck out of this thing. But it was probably the most exciting car day ever. And that started my little journey with my baby. So we have arrived to the car wash. This is one of my favorite car washes in the area because it has warm water when you're doing the rinse, so you're not freezing your butt off. So we're gonna wash this thing. Really? So it's the 27th of December. We're gonna wash this thing. It'll be my last official drive of the year. And we'll get it back to the studio, get it properly dried and cleaned up, and put her under the cover. Sad. Okay, so she's ready to go. We're gonna do some tire cleaning first. We're gonna do a pre-soak, high pressure soak, not the foam brush. We never use the foam brush.
What?
Foam brush is bad. There's always a lot of gunk in that one, so we never use that. And then we'll do a high pressure rinse, and then we're gonna head back to the studio. All right, headed back to do a dry on this thing and a proper detail, and then we'll get everything else going. So sad, guys, this sucks. Right, so the entrance to this studio is, there are enormous potholes here. So front lift up and dodge the craters. At this point I know where they all are, but scary stuff. Okay, I'm gonna get this garage door open. Okay, so we're gonna dry this thing off now. It's actually not as bad as I thought it was gonna be driving it a couple minutes back to the studio. Might as well get everything out of here right now. I always keep detailing supplies in my car, because usually the car's in really great shape. This year, not so much. This is my car cover. Check out how cute this is. So this came with the car. It's in its own little duffel bag. I'll show you guys what it looks like when we take it out, but so cute. Last but not least, a little Lambo trickle charger, which we'll plug in afterwards. Through the towel, I can feel how rough the wrap is right now, just from all of the stone chips. I cannot wait to get this car rewrapped. So this is just a wrap detailer. It's a detailer made specifically for car wraps. So it just works better with the actual vinyl as opposed to with paint. I've been using this one for quite some time. I find it's the easiest to use and it doesn't streak. Cleaning the car is probably one of the most important parts of storing the car, because as soon as you put the car cover on, if there's any dirt or any contaminants on the car, you're just gonna put the cover on, it's just gonna rub against it and damage it. Again, I don't think it matters too much this year because the wrap is in such terrible shape anyway, but it's just good practice to make sure that the car is super clean before you put the cover on it, because you don't want any dust or any bits of gravel or dirt or gunk between the actual soft cover of the actual car cover itself or the actual paint of your car or wrap of your car. Also, it probably goes without saying, but I wouldn't recommend doing this on such a crummy day where we just washed the car and got it dirty on a 7-minute ride back to the studio. Oops. Hey. What you got?
I got some subs.
Yep. So another thing worth mentioning is when you are detailing a car, it is super important to use a detailing spray because it actually lifts the dirt off of the car and prevents it from scratching. So that's why I've been using a ton of this stuff, almost half a bottle of it, just as I'm going through and drying it, because I want to make sure that none of the dirt is being dragged along the wrap. Lots of spray. I've used a whole bunch of cloths. This is my 3rd or 4th cloth drying the car, but I like to just keep using new, fresh, clean sides so that you're not scrubbing dirt into the actual finish. Another pro tip. So here's my little tire pump. I keep this in my car all the time. It was one of the coolest finds ever on Amazon. My friend recommended it to me. The best thing ever for rallies. But we're gonna use this today because it's wireless and it's super easy. I have it preset for 45 PSI. Let's see what the car is telling me it's at. Not terrible, it hasn't been driven for a while and it's just been sitting, so we're gonna overinflate it. All we have to do is hit start and it'll automatically overinflate to the 45 PSI. Now we wait. done, finally. That was 1 of 4. Okay, so they're all overinflated, we're good to go. So next up, we're gonna get this trickle charger plugged in. First, this one here, this particular one, just because I've used it a bunch of times before, has to be plugged into the wall first and then into the car. So let's get this thing plugged in. There's no plug on this wall. Anywhere. Hold on 1 second. Babe, where do I plug the car in?
Oh, come over here. You're gonna have to cut a hole.
What do you mean?
You're gonna have to cut a hole in the wall. There's no outlet on this side. So I don't want a cable that's run all the way out across the floor. So you're just gonna have to drill a hole through here.
Oh.
You got your whole toolkit and everything right there. Go nuts.
So we're drilling a hole in the wall. Holy moly, this thing is powerful. Oh, that was so easy. There you go. Okay, we've got power. So this will keep the battery at optimal performance for the whole entire winter. So it won't actually keep it charged. It'll just charge it when it detects that the battery itself is discharging, which is pretty cool. So I leave this plugged in all winter long so that in the springtime, she's ready to fire up as soon as I'm ready. So now I just really neatly run the cable. I usually just do it from this front corner here and keep the hood closed. And that's it. We'll tidy up all these wires and we'll put the cover on her. So I got my cutesy poo little duffel bag here with the car cover in it. We'll take the cover out, we'll throw the cover on, and she is good to go for her little nap until the spring. It looks like I was very eager when I pulled the cover off last spring because it is such a mess. This car usually stays stored for the worst of the winter months, so January, February. I try to take it out as early as possible because I really love driving it. So usually March or April is when I take my first drive with it. I try to keep this thing stored for as little as possible because unlike most drivers out there, Ferrari, you know what I'm getting at. I actually try to get this out as quickly as I can because I love driving it and it's fun and she's capable, and why would I keep it in the garage when I can be driving the shit out of her? All right, so that is pretty much it. Thanks for following along today while I stored my baby. Hopefully it gave you guys some clarity into how to winterize a car, and hopefully we get this thing out as quickly as we can so we can start ripping again in the spring. Thanks for watching, guys. If you like this content, please like and subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next one. Peace.
Yo, they wouldn't let me. Man's gal wanna come undress me. Swing with a right, but I might go lefty. I made plus with it, so don't test me.